Okay, I think everyone's here. So let's start. Thank you everyone for being here today with us. So today we have a very special guest with us who recently graduated from University of South Wales with a PhD in psychology. He just actually released his first book called Hand in Hand or Bersama Bersama in Indonesian. He is also passionate about Indonesian mental health, wherein he is currently working with the Indonesian government in improving the mental health in rural Indonesia and to help them to get these resources to them. He's also currently working with the Australian government as well as private organizations, talking openly about mental health issues without any stigma, especially here in Indonesia, where a lot of people doesn't really talk about mental health issues. So please welcome Dr. Sander Sanoni, or you may call him Dr. Sandy. He will be speaking today about how to support you and your children during the COVID-19 outbreak. Dr. Sandy?
Hi, Jacqueline. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Dr. Sandy. How are you?
I'm good. Sandy is fine. No need for the
Okay,
doctor
Sandy.
bit.
All right. So,
Great. Should I get? Oh, sorry. Go on.
yes, yes, please. Go ahead.
All right. Um, that's all right. Should I get started, or did you want to say or ask something first?
No, that's all right. You can start, Sandy.
Great. No worries. So, good afternoon. I'm in Sydney, Australia. So it's 5 o'clock here. That's
Mm-hmm.
why ini agak remang-remang gitu karena it's winter, udah agak gelap, and so I've got lots of lights to make sure that you can see me. It's a huge, huge privilege to be able to speak to all of you today. Just, I just wanted to say hi to a few people, especially I think my mom is watching as well. So I need to make sure that I do a good job. If not, I get a phone call afterwards.
I'm sure
And
you
my
will.
wonderful auntie. Yeah, absolutely. Um, sorry, just give me
All
one
right.
second. Yep, here we are. Can everyone see me? Yep, very good. And so my wonderful auntie, Tante Linda, is here as well. It's wonderful to see you. Looking wonderful. And I'm so excited for today because I absolutely love talking about family. So I'm currently a researcher at the University of New South Wales in terms of suicide prevention and mental health. And there was this one talk, this wonderful, wonderful talk, where they had this debate. Does prevention in psychiatry work? Are we able to prevent suicide? And the one of the speakers, he's an amazing professor. He got up and he said, you know, we talk about all these programs, all these initiatives, billions of dollars have gone into mental health. But one of the most effective things that they've done is actually focus on families because they can educate children about mental health. They can educate children about this is what you do if you feel suicidal. They can have hotlines. They can have all these different things, but nothing is more important than starting with family, which is why it's a huge privilege for me to be able to speak today. We're going to be talking about family. And just to be very open, um, my own family unit, so my mom and my dad separated quite a number of years ago. And my dad suffers from extreme panic attacks and anxiety, sometimes even till today. So I'm well aware of what it's like to be a child in a family where the family unit isn't whole anymore. And so I can understand both sides of the coin. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Oh dear. Jacqueline, it says that the host disabled screen sharing. Could you make me a co-host, please?
Let me try, yeah.
Yep. And I'm very, very aware that this is a bilingual society. Jadi kalau misalnya nanti ada bagian yang kurang jelas dalam bahasa Inggrisnya, just put your hand up dan saya akan coba menjelaskan dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Wait, hold on, please.
Sure, no worries. In the meantime, one of the things I'm going to do anyway, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit more. So my research is specifically about anxiety and depression. Dan saya pun pernah didiagnosa dan kena anxietas dan depresi. And so I've experienced what it's like to have very bad suicidal ideation. I'm very familiar what it's like to be depressed. And so that motivated me to go into research, to take my PhD in anxiety and depression. And so currently, my area of research is in suicide prevention and technology. Bagaimana kita bisa menggunakan teknologi to reduce suicides, specifically in suicide hotspots that we find. I have two absolutely amazing siblings. So my older sister, her name is Stephanie. My name is Sanderson, dan adik saya namanya Sebastian. Jadi there's Stephanie, Sanderson, and Sebastian. Kalau dipendekin, Steffi, Sandy, Sammy. Dan memang disengajain kayak gitu. The problem with that is sometimes our own parents get our names mixed up since they made it so similar, especially my brother and I. My sister is a huge role model for me. She's absolutely amazing. She's currently working in Google, and she fought hard to get that position, and she's doing extremely well. My younger brother is actually taking his own PhD, but in the field of finance and accounting. And so, it's not working yet, Jacqueline. Can't seem to show the slides. I don't want to take up too much time.
Yes, hold on, please.
No worries. I think with my name, you can press the three dots and you can make co-host, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's going to be with Marshall. Hold on, sorry.
That is okay. Great. Thanks for waiting, everyone. If my voice is a little bit hoarse, please forgive me. I've been quite sick for the past few days, although I've had it checked and it's not COVID-19, thankfully. Although for those of you who've experienced it, the test is very, very uncomfortable. Here we are. Thank you very much. So let's get started. How do I start? Great. Can everyone see that? Just give me a thumbs up. All good? Yeah, wonderful. So today we're going to be talking about how to support your children and yourself during the COVID-19 outbreak. And I'm just going to breeze through the first bit really quickly. So on the very, that's me. If you see that every single photo, I only have one pose, one smile, just different haircuts. That's the only way that I look in photos. On the very right is my wonderful brother and sister. There we're taking a picture at the Sydney airport. But let's just go into the material and let's not waste any more time. So let's be frank. In the COVID-19 lockdown, many of us are feeling stressed, we're feeling afraid, we're feeling distant and very lonely. We're actually feeling quite isolated a lot of the time. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling these things. When the lockdown started in Australia, pertama-tama ada PSBB, I felt very, very lonely. Terutama karena ini nggak tahu mau berapa lama. I don't know how long this is going to go for. And some people are quite angry that the situation is happening this way. And lots of people are worried. And I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. A lot of us are stressed. It could be about our finances, our family, the children and their education. What's going to happen to them if they can't go to school? And a lot of us are worried about our career as well. So I just want to give you 20 to 30 seconds, just so there's a little bit of interaction. If you can type it down in the chat, what are some of the things you're worried about as well? You could be worried about the fact that the economy may be going down. Some people are worried about safety. Some people are worried about different things. There's a huge number of areas that people might be worried about. So that's okay. Yeah, just keep those in mind. No need to write those down. think about some of the things that you're particularly worried about, because we're going to be talking through them in a little bit. So whenever we talk about these things, I want to lay a strong foundation. I want us to lay a basic foundation of an understanding, and this will form the foundation of everything else that we talk about. I know that Ms. March and Jacqueline have gone through this since we talked about this a few days ago, but everything that we worry about, every person, every concern, whether it's our finances, our family, our education, all of that will fall into one of three categories. And it's so, so important that we remember this. There are things that you can control, things that we have complete control over, things that we can determine the outcome. Then there are things that you have some control or influence. We can't always determine the outcome, but sometimes we can control them. And of course, the last category, there are things that we have absolutely no control ever. So let's think about this a little bit. And I'm going to make it very easy. I want everyone to help me participate. You can either shake your head like this or agree with me, depending on what I say. So the question is, can we determine, personally, can we determine how long the pandemic and PSBB is going to last? Yes or no? No. But can we determine how safe we are by following the PSBB? Yes or no? I'm getting mixed responses, and so I'm a little bit confused, but that's okay. Yeah, so it's like this. Can we completely determine our income? Contohnya, I want to earn $1 million next week. Can I do that? No, there are other factors in play. But can I do things to make my finances healthier? Yes or no? Can I save up? Can I learn to live within our means? So there are always some things that we can do, but there are always things that we can't control. Here's another one. Can you determine how your children will react to the pandemic? Yes or no?
No.
I would say no. But what we can do is try to talk to them in a way that will help them understand it. Does that make sense? And so there are some things outside of our control. Memang ada hal-hal yang kita tidak bisa kendali. Itu kenyataannya. Tapi ada beberapa hal yang we can actually do. The problem is, a lot of people that I talk to, they're so focused on the things they cannot control that they don't actually focus and they don't actually do the things that they can. Banyak sekali yang saya bicara tentang, they're worried about the US-China conspiracy. And I asked them, what can you do about it? Absolutely nothing. So why worry about things that we cannot control? Karena kalau kita pikirin terus, if we're worried, kalau kita khawatir terus, itu capek nggak? Capek. It drains our energy. So today I want to invite us to the things that we can control, let's push them out of the way and focus on what we can do. What can we do in the situation? And so everything that we talked about, we can place them into these categories. And as we place them in, we learn to push things away a little bit. Okay, you know what? I can't control that. I'm not going to worry about it. Because I want to devote my resources, my time, my energy to controlling and focusing on things that I can control. That is how we are strategic. We focus on what we can control. Now, a lot of people don't believe this, but a global pandemic can actually be a healthy experience for you and your family. Sebenarnya ini bisa jadi hal yang baik depending on what you do. It can either be one of the worst experiences for you and your family, or it can be a very, very, very good experience. Contohnya. So imagine these two guys. I don't know who they are. I just took off their pictures of Google. So if you ask me who these children are, I don't know gitu. Tapi imagine this. Both of these children are going through the pandemic. Nah, udah selesai PSBB, anak yang di kiri, dia nggak mau balik ke sekolah. He's like, I don't want to go back to school. Dia bilang, percuma kalau misalnya memang the world is so fragile, anything can happen. What's the whole point of going to the school? His conclusion is that, the world is so fragile. The world is so chaotic because of the pandemic. I don't want to go to school. Yang di sebelah kanan, dia malah lebih niat ke sekolah. He's more passionate about school because he thinks, you know what? I want to help more people in case another pandemic like this happens. I want to be able to reach out. I need to go to school. I need to help people. And therefore, I need my education. Situasinya bisa sama. But what makes it healthy or not is the conclusion and the meaning you make out of it. It is so important to be able to make meaning out of situation. What does this mean for me? How does this impact me? How do I see myself in this sort of situation? And especially children, and actually after a lot of counseling, a lot of adults, we don't know how to make meaning. We don't know how to draw conclusions, a healthy conclusion from the situation in order to make our lives better. That's why as families, we're going to learn today, how can we guide children and how can we guide ourselves to be able to make the right meaning and come out of this healthy? Because I want to say this. Children don't need a perfect family. Children don't need perfect lives. Children don't need a perfect environment. Why? Because if their lives are perfect as children, when they're adults, is it going to continue to be perfect? Probably not. Buktinya, all of us here, how many people do we have? We have 41 people here. I would guarantee that all 41 of us don't have perfect lives, right? None of us have perfect lives. And if children grow up in perfect environment, they don't know how to manage challenges. They don't know how to manage trauma. They don't know how to manage financial crises. But they never learn as children. And so children don't need perfect parents. Children don't need perfect families. They need an example of what it looks like to go through challenges. Makanya PSBB dan pandemi ini, it can be something healthy. And it could be the thing that makes your children stronger. It makes your family stronger. It makes you stronger. But it depends, what is your meaning? What is your conclusion that you draw out of this? And so the bottom line is, as I mentioned before, a healthy family doesn't shelter its children from pain and suffering. It shows them how to deal with it. And don't worry, nanti I'm going to send these slides to Miss March and Jacqueline, and nanti bakal diedarkan so you can have all the slides and all the notes as well. Okay? Children don't need perfect parents, yang tadi saya katakan. They need parents who can manage their own dysfunction. You will never be perfect. Your children will never be perfect. Tapi you can teach your children, hey, you're not going to be perfect. This is how to manage it. This is what you can do. And so if facing challenges and having a healthy conclusion is healthy for children, they need families that can help them through that process. They need families who can tell them, hey, this is what you do when you're facing confusion. This is what you do when you find there's no more solutions left. This is how we deal with problems. You teach them family values and you demonstrate them so they can come out healthier. Now, especially with children, it might take some time for it to emerge. Karena jujur aja, saat saya SMP sama SMA itu, saya tuh bandel banget. I was one of the troublemakers at school. If you don't believe me, in high school, I don't even know if my mom knows this. She may or she may not. But I had a very good friend. His name is Gatra, and he's studying theoretical physics now, the ITB. And so we were so naughty. We would sneak into the chemistry lab and we would make gunpowder from scratch. And there was this one accident where we accidentally burned a hole in the chemistry table. After that, we were banned from the lab ever again. Jadi saya itu anak bandel. And Oh dear, I lost my train of thought with that story. Where was I going? Do you remember, Jacqueline? What was I saying before this? Yeah.
Um, oh,
Never
children?
mind. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on. So yeah, children need to learn how to manage their own dysfunctions. And oh, I know what I'm saying. It takes time for children to develop these skills. It takes time for your efforts to actually show. Karena anak-anak itu seperti bibit. You're planting everything. All these things you do, they're like plants, and they may not realize all the lessons until they're older. But if you don't plant them now, they won't be able to enjoy it later. And so it's an investment when it comes to children. So now is a critical time where what you do will have long-lasting impact on not only your child, but yourself and your family. So it's very, very important you do that right. So then a lot of you might have learned that anak-anak, kalau mereka nggak belajar bahasa dalam berapa tahun pertama, it becomes very difficult for them to pick up, right? If you don't learn a certain language at that young age, it becomes a lot harder to learn it when we're slightly older. So there's a critical period in children's life where they can pick up language. In the same way, now is a very critical season. It's a critical time for you to teach certain lessons for your family, for yourself, and for your child, that if the season passes, the opportunity will be lost. So let's go into some of these things. So today I'm going to keep it very simple. 3 things you need to do to thrive during COVID-19. And as a note, good things are never, ever easy. When I've given this talk to a lot of places, and typically when I'm in Indonesia, of course, I have to speak in Indonesian. But since for some strange reason, English is my first language, I struggle to communicate it sometimes. But a lot of parents would come up to me, a lot of families would come up to me and say, yeah, that's really, really hard to do. It's challenging. But I tell them that if you want to keep your situation as it is, then you got to do then just do what you're already doing. If you want change, you're going to have to do something you've never done before. So just to know that some of these can be challenging, but if you can do it, these are some of the most rewarding and best things you can do for your family, for your children, and for yourself. The first thing is, have a family talk. Some of you might already do this, some of you may not. I know that the culture is very, very different in Indonesia. And kenyataannya, semua orang itu takut. Everyone is actually scared. Even though people might seem they're okay, everyone deep down is just a little bit scared. And the problem is when we're scared, it affects us in different ways. And we start to make assumptions. Some people start to lose their temper. Some people run to unhealthy habits unless we sit down and we get it all out. One of my favorite quotes by the speaker called Jason Valentin, just to be really candid and open about everything. So he was actually struggling at the time with an addiction to pornography. And he did something that a lot of people can't imagine. He actually brought it to his family. He talks about it with his family. And his family actually supported him in getting out of it. And so he says that I've faced a lot of challenges bigger than myself, but I've never faced a challenge bigger than my family. And so I've met lots and lots of families where just sitting down and talking is so uncomfortable. But it's no longer a nice idea. It is a necessity, especially in times like this. Another example is you need to understand that in pandemic times, in a global crisis like this, it's like war. Kita lagi perang sebenarnya. We need to make sure that we have our resources. We need to make sure everyone is okay. We're in a wartime. Now, every person who's gone through war, especially the generals, have sit down and have strategized, talking about, okay, this is the situation on my end, this is the situation on my end, this is the situation on my end. And even though it's uncomfortable, it's something absolutely necessary. So what do you talk about in the family talk? Number 1, what's the current situation? Now, especially with children, they may not fully understand, or they may have a misperception of what's happening. Not only children, I found a lot of adults and teenagers do this as well. They could be denying what's actually happening. they could be angry because they don't understand, why do we need to PSBB? Why do we need to have physical distancing? And so if you can sit down and say, okay, how are you? What's your situation, gitu? Some people might say, this is slightly going on to the second point, how are we all feeling? But some people might be like, you know what? I'm a little bit scared. Some people may not want to share, but that's okay, as long as you give them the opportunity to share. And they're like, why are we talking about feelings? It's so weird. And for those of you, one of the things I found is that it's very uncomfortable sometimes in Indonesian cultures to talk about our feelings. Where they ask, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing fine. That's the natural default response. And it is almost never true. But if we want to survive, we've got to do something different. We've got to talk about our feelings. When I started with this pandemic, as I mentioned before, I was really stressed and lonely because every single day I would just be sitting at my computer. This is my work table as well. I would be doing work and then I go to sleep, which is right over there. We're in my room at the moment. And every day it's just the same thing. I didn't get to meet my friends. I felt really lonely. And deep down, insecurities start to come at me, where I felt that, you know what, Sandy, this is going to hurt your career. You're never going to get a proper job with the economy this way. I started feeling that my friends left me out. And so everyone has lots of feelings that they need to process, but it's within our culture, and a lot of people just suppress it and pretend everything is okay. But if you suppress it and pretend everything's okay, it's going to come out in unhealthy ways. So we need to talk about our feelings. Now, let's say, for example, just hypothetically, that Jacqueline and I were siblings and we were talking, and I say, oh, you know what, I'm feeling really lonely and really stressed, even if I want to share it. Now, what Jacqueline has to do is then she has to be mindful of my feelings. And she asks, okay, what can I do for you? What is the best way we can go through this? In the same way, if I'm sitting with Jacqueline and she's saying that, you know what, I think I need more personal time. I need more time alone, because especially with a house, it's really cramped. Unfortunately, domestic violence, conflicts, and divorce rates have skyrocketed ever since isolation started. So everyone is cooped up at home. There's a lot of conflict happening. Some people might say, I need personal time. I need personal space gitu. Dan aku orangnya juga seperti itu. I need my personal space. Then it's our responsibility to say, okay, so how do we achieve that? What can we do? So they feel their feelings are heard, and you actually take action to make everyone a bit more comfortable at home. Now, I understand for many of us, this is going to be very, 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 very scary. It's going to be tough. In my own family, we haven't had a lot of family talks. One of the few family talks that we've had was when my parents told us that they were getting divorced. And so for us, it's uncomfortable, but you know what? It's healthy. When I'm with my brother now, and I respect him a lot, he knows how to resolve conflict. He says, Coco, I don't like when you do this. Coco is older brother in our Chinese dialect. That's what he calls me. He calls me Coco. He says, you know, Coco, I don't like it when you do this. And he's able to communicate it in a helpful and constructive way. And I told him, you know what? I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that. Next time I'll do this. And so we're not comfortable with it, but we're learning how to do that. Everyone is in the learning process. And I bet you a lot of people who've kept their feelings to themselves are going to cry, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to sit down and talk about, all right, how are we feeling? How are we doing? And what can I do for you? What's the best way to do this? So how do you start? This is going to look different in every family. You can gather around. It can be over a meal. It can be over the dinner table. Or if you want to do one-on-one, that's fine as well. And you can start by saying your intention. For example, again, using the hypothetical with me and Jacqueline, if I just ask her, hey, how are you doing? And we didn't have that relationship, that may be a little bit weird, right? So you got to start by saying something like, you know, I really want us to get out of this okay. I want us to be able to be healthier, all of us. And I do care for you. And so that sets the context. That lowers their defenses. Because sometimes when we're with family, especially family, when we've had conflict with family, when we start talking about deeper things, we immediately put up these walls, right? So the first thing we got to do is to set the context and situation. You know what? I do care for you. I want us to get out of this healthier. And ask them, it's like, how are you doing? What do you feel about this situation? And the younger the child is who's participating, coax them more and more. Because the worst thing is they come out of the situation and they have a misperception of what's actually happening. This isn't to scare them. You don't need to tell them, oh, these are the number of deaths. This is what's happening. New York is a lockdown. No need. Just make sure they understand what is happening in the world around them and why they need to stay safe. And you know what? This is going to take several tries. It's not always going to work the first time. And if they're not ready, that's okay as well. We just tell them, you know what? I care for you. I want you to come out of this healthy. And after time and time again, they're going to come to you and they're going to share. Why? Because you've shown that you're available. You've shown that you're vulnerable to listen to them. And so, as I noted down there as well, this can be tough and very awkward for many families, but just start by asking how they feel. A family that isn't used to communicating isn't magically going to get better over time. In fact, they're going to drift apart. And after being confined for a lot of time, what we're expecting to see is that families drift apart. And one of the ways to mend that is to have open communication from the start. So even though it's awkward, even though it's hard, sometimes we've got to start it. It's not going to appear magically. Healthy relationships, whether romantic, sibling, friendship, family, they're cultivated. And I'm sure all of you would know they take time as well. And so if it's a bit confusing and it's a bit daunting, one good place to start is just start with empathy. Just listen without judgment. And let me say something. I've dealt with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of young people and families as well. You know what? If your children seem too perfect, then it's probably a sign that they're good at hiding things. That's just the reality of it. Everyone is going through troubles. Everyone is going through struggles. And so remember, if you want them to share to you, you can't cut in and you can't be judgmental to them. I have a close friend who no longer talks to her mom anymore because every time she would say something, her mom would cut with the lecture right away. So we got to make sure that we're not listening with judgment. And look for feelings. Ask them, oh, is this how you feel? Are you angry because of this? Try to find out how are they feeling instead of just the situation. And I am so, so, so glad to be talking to a lot of mothers because men have a lot more trouble with this a lot of the time. We men, we don't typically deal with feelings a lot of the time. So I'm so glad to be talking to a lot of mothers. And sit with the feelings with them. If they're feeling angry, one of the worst things that we can do is if they're feeling angry, we say, no, you shouldn't be feeling angry. No, you shouldn't be feeling upset. Let them experience these emotions and talk to them through it. And then we summarize and validate and we ask them, okay, so you're feeling angry because this happened. Is that correct? So they feel heard as well. And as a note, a lot of children are actually afraid of talking to their parents, especially once they've gone through puberty, and would rather pretend they're okay or rebel. So a lot of children rebel is because they want to communicate something that they can't. A lot of children are acting up because they're trying to convey something that they don't know how to place words to. That's what's actually happening. So moving on. What do you do when your family is distressed? If you find one of your family members is stressed, if you find one of your family members is depressed or anxious or they're going through a really tough time, it's really, really good because as Jacqueline mentioned, I very recently published a book called Hand in Hand. And in Indonesian, it's called Bersama-sama. And I'll just show you really quickly what it looks like, just to give you a little teaser. Let me share it. Sorry, just give me 1 second. So if you want to get your hand on the booklet, the website is handinhandbooklet.org. It's something that I spent quite some time writing up. It talks about what the booklet is, about the authors, download and read ebook. At the moment, it's still e-booklet, but we're going to have the physical one soon. And each booklet is only 25,000. We cut it so low so to make it accessible to everyone. This will help you manage your relationship with every person around you, whether it's a friend, coworker, child, parent, spouse, family member, sibling. These rules that I talk about will be applicable in all contexts. And so here's what the booklet looks like. It's an e-booklet. Here's the cover. I talk about my own story when it comes to suicide and depression. I talk about a brief overview of psychological disorders and chronic stress-induced traumas. That sounds scary. Don't worry about that. It just means what is depression, what is anxiety. Just a very brief description so you understand. I also talk about, sorry for scrolling very quickly, 10 things you can do to help someone in their dark season. So how do you listen to them? How do you talk to them? What is the right way to talk about things? And then in the end, I also talk about how to manage somebody when they're going through a suicidal episode. So touch on wood, this never happens, but a lot of people have gone through suicidal episodes and the people around them don't know what to do. And so this book will equip you with what you need to know. How do you help somebody else, whether it's a family member or coworker, if they're experiencing a suicidal episode? So back to the slides. Now, if it's stressful to have a family talk, don't be afraid to ask for help and advice from other parents. There's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to support a family. And so in every situation, I've seen that the healthiest families are those who are willing to seek advice from other families and talk through it together and not just try to do things themselves. And I know that the Lantera community, along with the Lollipop, has some incredible parents because I've met them personally. And there's no shame in coming to someone and saying, hey, you know what? I need a bit of help with my family. What do I do? In fact, that's one of the healthiest things you can teach your child, how to ask for help. A lot of children get into very serious trouble because they don't learn how to ask for help from the proper authorities or from other people. And so asking for help is one of the healthiest things you can demonstrate. So family talk, very, very important. The next thing is, you need to fulfill your emotional, mental, and physical needs. Why? Because unless you have your needs met first, you will not be able to act in a healthy way to your family or your surroundings. Taking care of yourself is also taking care of your family. For example, I'm going to admit, if I don't get enough sleep, I get very grumpy. How about you? I can imagine for a lot of people, it's the same. Aku, kalau lapar, I get grumpy as well. Like with a lot of guys, if I'm hungry, I get grumpy. And this is how our physical, padahal itu perut gitu, apa hubungannya sama pikiran kita? Our body and mind are so closely intertwined. But if we don't get enough sleep, if we don't have our needs met, we're not going to be healthy. Keluarnya, it's not going to be healthy. You know what to say, you know what to do, you know you need to be patient, you know you need to sit down and have a family talk. But if you don't have the emotional and mental and physical needs met, you will not have the capacity to do it. You start with taking care of yourself. And here's a perfect example. I'm sure a lot of you already know what that is. That if you're riding in a plane and there's a drop in pressure, you have to use these oxygen masks. Cuman they say again and again and again and again. If you're traveling with a young child, you put it on yourself and then you put it on the child. Why? Because if you try to put it on your child and they're not able to do it, and the oxygen gets cut, both of you will pass out. So you need to make sure that you're healthy, that you're in a position to act in a healthy way, then you can help somebody next to you. So I'm going to give a slide. I'm sure a lot of you know what this is. So my parents, they were very, very good in making sure I was healthy. They fed me vegetables and fruits and lots of vitamins. So a lot of you might know this is Redoxon, which is a wonderful source of vitamin C and zinc. In Australia, we have this brand called Barocca, which is something quite similar. Now, a lot of us, we take supplements, right? We take calcium to make our bones stronger. We take Redoxon to make us healthier. We take vitamin D to make sure that our energies are up. We take vitamin B. I'm not a pharmacist or that type of doctor, so I don't know exactly all the different supplement types. But you know what's important, right? We have to get enough vitamins. We have to get calcium. We have to get all these different things in order for us to be healthy. And if we don't, we start to feel a little bit strange. In the same way, emotional needs are just as important. We often remember that we need to take vitamins, but we forget our emotional needs because we don't talk about it as much. So the question is, if I have needs, what are my needs? What are my emotional, mental, and physical needs? So we're going to talk about 4 of them today. The first one is exercise. Now, exercise is a huge, huge, huge factor when it comes to our mental and emotional health. If we don't exercise, our body starts to feel tired in a way as if we haven't been sleeping properly. So even if it's just a short walk outside, even if it's just some exercises at home, exercise is very, very, very important. Make sure you do that. My mom texted us this morning. She was very proud of herself. She said, I walked 7 kilometers every day for the past few days. And I'm like, good job. That's very good, Mom. I'm like, that's very good. Exercise is so, so important. And it's been proven to have a strong correlation with mental health. So people who exercise are less likely to be anxious, less likely to be depressed, because when we exercise, the brain releases these chemicals that make us feel good. That's why exercise is so, so important. Another thing is fun. A lot of people, and especially adults, forget to have fun. What do you enjoy doing? Do you like watching the movies? Do you like playing things? Memang akan sangat terbatas saat kita PSBB. It's going to be a bit more limited with physical distancing. But try to do things that are fun. Some people do painting. I know that my mom would do these coloring books that would help, and she enjoyed doing. I know some people like to do puzzles. Schedule fun in your life. We need to have fun to stay emotionally healthy. So what do you enjoy doing? And you know what? We know we do things that we need to do, our responsibility. 24 hours isn't enough in a day. We're not going to have fun unless we make time for it. Nothing is going to happen unless we make time. So make sure you make time for you to actually have fun. Do things you enjoy, do things you love, read a book, whatever it is you like doing. A really important one is rest. Now, in my 3.5 years of my PhD, yung benar-benar istirahat, do you know how many days I really took rest? 10 days. 10 days in 3.5 years. Why? Because being on a holiday or having a weekend is not the same as rest. You can be on holiday, you can be having a weekend, and yet you could still be worrying about things, right? And so rest doesn't only start with the environment, it starts in the mind. It starts with telling yourself, you know what? The world isn't going to come crashing down if I rest for a day. And of course, in family situations, it's going to be a little bit different. But by resting, you actually learn to adapt to your situation and your environment a lot better. And so rest is super, super important. There's a study showing that anak-anak yung the millennial generation, we are the generation that doesn't rest. A lot of people might take holidays. A lot of people might go have weekends, but we do not rest. Why? because our minds are constantly working. We're worried about work, we're worried about this, we're worried about that. And if we're worrying about things, that's not called rest, that's called distraction. And so if you can make time to rest, this is something super, super essential. I know a lot of people, both teenagers and adults, have told me that they feel a little bit ashamed to be resting. They feel like they need to constantly work and produce things. But resting is a necessity. Sleeping properly is a necessity. And among there are seasons in life, for example, especially with young children, we may not be able to do that as much as we want. But as much as we can, resting is a huge, huge part of our lives. Last but not least, we have social needs. Now, this past baby, the social distancing has been really, really strange because I'm isolated, I'm calling up people I don't typically call. I'm chatting with people I don't typically chat, but previously where I get to see people on a daily basis, I don't have that anymore. So I need to be intentional in having my needs met. I call up people, I video chat them. There's this one time, so I have these very, very good friends that live about half an hour from here, and they're together and I'm over here alone. So they put me on video on an iPhone, and I wasn't talking to them. I was actually watching their TV. Jadi kita nonton TV bareng. I did a video call and I was just watching television with them. You need to make sure you have your social needs met. Talk to someone, and not only like the surface level, but really someone you can share about, I'm having a really hard day. I'm having a really tough time, gitu. These people won't magically appear. You need to look for them. You will have your social needs met if you're intentional and looking for the right people. It's not going to magically suddenly appear. So the first thing that we talked about was having a family talk, which is scary, but it's necessary at this time, and will determine how good your relationship goes after this. The second thing is you need to make sure your needs are met first, where you have exercise, fun, rest, as well as social needs. Now, the last thing, and I'm going to be very quick because I realize that we're short on time, and because this is in a school context, one of the things that needs to happen for a family to come out healthy is you need to engage in your child's learning. Physical presence is important. So the teachers, no matter how good they are, there's only so much that they can do in this situation. And this is all across the world, not just in Indonesia. I know this because I frequently work with some of the brightest people in the world, people who graduated their PhDs from Harvard and Cambridge and Yale, and even some of the brightest in Australia. But there's only so much we can do without actually being there. Now, especially in Indonesia, only in the past 100 years did the role of education, the teachers take over. The very first school in Indonesia is only about 150 years old. So for thousands and thousands of years, learning was something that happened in the family, something that happened in the household. Remember, there are some things that we can control, some things that we have influence over, and some things that we can't control. Memang kenyataannya, if we're doing schooling from home, there's only so much that my child can absorb. There's only so much that can happen. And you know what? Psychologically speaking, that's okay. But what can you do? I can engage in my child's learning in order to promote it. Don't worry about things you can't control. Think about things that you can do. And I want to say that if you want to come out of this season well, the role of the parent is extremely important in the child's education. It's exceptionally important. So what do? You talk to them, ask about their studies, and sit with them. They will realize their education is important, not by you telling them it's important, but as they see you devote your time to it. As they see you devote the time, because I've had the wonderful opportunity to speak with the teachers of Lollipop and SLE, and they are so devoted. They're thinking of new creative ways how to engage the children. But I have to say, the number one factor of how engaged your child stays is the family and what happens at home. And so that's what I highly encourage every parent to do. And so, in summary, 3 things that needs to happen or you need to do in order for your family to come out healthy after the season is 1, have a family talk. Number 2, fulfill your emotional, mental, and physical needs. And 3, engage in your child learning, because you know what? The teachers in the school are doing an excellent job. I can say that as a psychologist. But if you want your child to be fully engaged or even more, it is your role to step in. It's not ideal, but that's the situation we have. There's some things that we can't control, but there's something that I can do. And to sum up, children don't need a perfect family or situation, but what they do need is to be taught how to overcome hardship through experience. And so that is the end of my talk today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy, for that very insightful talk that you've given us. Also, we would like to let you know that all presentations will be handed out by me and Marshall on our team. So feel free to have we're free for question and answer right now. So if you have any questions for Sandy, please write it down on the chat below. A few minutes for question and answer.
Can I give a comment a little bit?
Yes, Miss Linda.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sandy, for the talk. And I know this is a very important talk for all of us. And also it reminds me as parents, also like you said, there is no perfect parents and there is no perfect situation in this world. So it's very important, how we, like you said, how to prepare the children uh, to face their future. Like it's not like I make mistake as parents. Like of course as parents we want to give always the best to our children, right? Then we create the situation like in a la la land. Yeah, but this world is not a la la land. That's the fact. So I think, yeah, it reminds all of us, just to be mindful that we need to prepare the children to face this world. It's not a perfect place. And, like this is not a coincidence. In our generation, we experience this kind of thing, this coronavirus. And this is very difficult, for everyone and for all of us. But yeah, this is the world. So it's not that I'm glad this is thing happened, but this is the good time also to really, like you said, to have a family talk with our children to discuss about the situation and how we can help the children to make the right meaning. Of course, it depends on their age and their understanding. But I think, yeah, we as parents, we are really reminded of this. And thank you so much, Sandy, for the talk. And I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Santa. It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for the comments. And that reminded me, I just want to share a very, very quick story before we get to the question. So my family actually went to Australia during the 1998 riots in May. And when we went to Australia, we didn't have a lot of things. We went from one house to another, just trying to survive. And I think Dandelina knows the story as well. It's like we stayed in one house and we moved to another house and we moved to another house. And it was Christmas. It was Christmas this one time. And I was very, very young. And I was like, oh, I really, really want a certain toy. I really, really want something. And so I wrote it down. I wrote my letter to Santa and I sent it off. And when I woke up in the morning, what I found wasn't the toy that I wanted, but it was this candy. It was these candies that my parents knew that I liked. And at the time, I was a little bit disappointed. But now I remember that as one of the most important lessons that my parents have ever taught me, that, at the time we had absolutely nothing, but they were still giving me the very best that they can. They were still giving me the very best that they can. And until now, when I remember that, it touches my heart really deeply. And so your children may not necessarily recognize all the lessons now, but that's why it's an investment. And some of the families that I've seen are closest don't have perfect parents, but they have family members, whether it's a parent or a child or a brother or sister, that's willing to apologize when they make mistakes. And that's what's really important. Alrighty, Jacqueline, should I start
Yes.
answering the questions?
Yes. So we have a question from Swati. Her question is, how do you make younger children age May 10 understand the situation? They're seeing the stress and they're not enjoying the 24-hour home.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially with young children, when they see adults getting stressed and they're seeing a lot of people panicking, it's important that they understand why. Not just saying that, oh, you know what, the world is in a pandemic, everyone's getting sick, but to talk to them and say, you know what, we're a little bit stressed because this is happening, but don't worry, we're doing our best. So it's important to reassure them, even if they're seeing stress, that the stress is there, one, for a reason, and number two, that there's a healthy solution, there are healthy ways to work through this. And so what children are looking for is guidance and reassurance a lot of the time, where they might say, oh, why is my mom and dad really stressed, or why is a lot of people stressed out there? And you can talk to them and say, you know what, the world is going through some really tough times at the moment, and we have to stay inside because it's a healthy thing to do. I know you don't like it, I acknowledge your feelings, but this is something that needs to happen. And whether they respond in a way you want or not, that's something you can't control, right? We can never really control another person's response, even if they're a young child. But what we can do is explain to them, so when they remember the events later, they understand, oh, this is why this happened, this is why this happened, this is why this happened. But as long as you reassure them of the family values, like we're staying together, we're doing our very best, sometimes that's all that you can do in that situation. Yeah. Yes. And they're not enjoying the 24 hours at home. Unfortunately, nobody really is. And especially with young children and they don't understand. That's why we have adults who know better and need to set strict rules. That's why they need to eat a certain time, they need to sleep a certain time, even if they don't like it. Because memang, as young children, it's our authority to be able to determine these things for their safety, whether they like it or not. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question. Thank you, Dr. Sandy, for your time and sharing. Can you share to solve if my son, single, is crazy playing Pokemon every day during COVID PSBB, and now I limited only weekend can play. He seems stressful, easily get angry, and even complaining he wants to leave this home. He doesn't have fun.
Yep. So what I've noticed is that a lot of people, especially children, they start to play these things. Do you mind if I ask how old the child is? If that's okay?
7.
Almost 7. Okay. Yep. So children at that age, they start to play these things, they start to have fun. And you know what? If they're at that age, even if they complain, limiting them is helpful. Limiting them is actually a good thing because they won't understand it until a little bit later on. The reason that you have the authority to do that is because they're still children. They don't understand the effects it has on them. They're only going to find things that are fun that they want to do, but they don't understand the long-lasting effects. That's why another topic that maybe we can talk about is helpful discipline. Because, for example, there's discipline that is helpful and it teaches the child the things they want them to learn, but there's also discipline that may be unhelpful, that they may not understand what's happening. And so there's a certain way of disciplining them that helps them to learn, yet preserves the relationship that you have with them. Unfortunately, that's not something we can discuss in this short amount of time. But if they're 7 years old, you have the authority to do that. And even if they're complaining and they don't want to do it, it's the right thing to do. Now, if they're a little bit older, say in their teens, and they're constantly playing games like that, that's where we need to start talking about, okay, are there other factors, underlying factors which are causing them? Back when I was a teenager, all I did was play computer games, but I was depressed. At the time, my dad was leaving home. And so the solution isn't to fix the symptom, I need to fix the root of the problem. And so if your child is demonstrating behavior like this, really think about, okay, what are some of the factors that could have contributed to this? Karena banyak orang itu main, not just the fun of it. A lot of children are playing, not just for the fun of it, but because they're distracting themselves. They're running away from something else. And getting the distractor away, they're just going to run to another distraction. So it's important to really understand the root of what's happening in the child's mind.
Would that be helpful if we ask how they are? Even though, because sometimes, they don't really speak up and they're afraid of opening up to their parents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very, in fact, that's one of the best things you can do, where you talk to them and say, hey, how are things going with you? How are things going? My brother, when he was going through puberty, he went through puberty in a broken household. And imagine what it's like, because when they hit puberty, they start to realize the world isn't ideal. My parents aren't perfect. Nothing is perfect. And he spent so many years in his dark room just playing computer games. And time after time, I asked him, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And my mom was telling him, stop doing this, stop doing that. And I talked to my mom because my dad wasn't at home. And I talked to my mom and saying, I don't think he's going to listen. Kalau bahasa Indonesia kita mau ngomong sampai berbusa pun, it doesn't seem like he's going to change. We can talk until we're frothing at the mouth, and he may not listen. When they're at the age where we can't fully control their behavior, we need to shift from control to influence, where we say, we support you, we love you, we know this isn't healthy. And then once he snapped out of it, he came to me, and now we're really, really close. So, sorry, I realize this is a whole other topic as well. How to be present in your pubescent child's life without being invasive. And so that's really, really important as well. Yeah, asking them, how are you doing? Even if they don't respond, as long as you've done your part, you've been vulnerable, you've opened up to them, that's all. That's all you need to do. And just wait a bit later. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Tante Linda. She said she's read the hand-in-hand booklet. It's practical for us to use and help others. Thank you very much for reading it. I highly encourage everyone to get a copy. I actually get 0% of the royalties. And so all the funding of this book, it's only $25,000, and all of it's going to go to mental health and educating families on topics like this, especially in rural Indonesia, where it's less talked about. And I really want to get this out into everybody's hands, just so we can all have healthier families. That's the whole purpose and heart behind it.
Yeah.
Here's another question. My son is turning 6. Sorry, I realized I started reading the questions on my own. Is that okay?
No problem. Go ahead.
Yeah. My son is turning 6 next July because of the PSBB. He's been playing games and watching YouTube all the time. Will that be okay for the child for keeping him occupied during this pandemic? Now, I'm saying this, realizing that every family is different, and that during this time, the parents may have a lot of things that you need to juggle as well. And so I'm saying this very, very carefully. I would avoid those games. Not completely shut them out, but avoid them. Why? Because there's some research linking those games into ADHD or attention deficit issues. Now, why is that? When you're playing a game on your phone, what the game does is you do something and you get like a prize very quick, right? You do something and you get like a prize. I used to play this game that a long time ago that a lot of us would remember. It's called Angry Birds. And so we would play this game and we would get a prize. Now that teaches the child that I only need to give a small attention span and I get a reward. A small attention span, a small effort, and I get a reward. When we know reality is not the case. Often we're not rewarded for long periods of time. Like when you finished your bachelor's degree, or high school, it takes several years to get the reward that you want. Whereas when you're playing games, it's very quick rewards. So I would encourage parents, and I'm saying this because I hate saying this because I know that you've got enough on your hands as it is. I realize that you've got the family, the funding, and the finances, and the relationships, and all of that to think about. But if it's possible, there's lots of online resources on YouTube of different activities you can actually do with your child, apart from games. And especially if the child is young, it's best to limit that quite a bit. It's best to limit that as much as possible, especially for their development. And another topic that I typically talk about as well, relating to the discipline one, is that the best thing you can teach your child is that for every action, there's a consequence. And that needs to be upheld in the household, where if a child is constantly in the game because it's reinforcing them, because it's rewarding them again and again and again and again, they don't really learn that association all that much. So I realize I'm going in circles. Just to summarize, I realize that sometimes that's all that can be done, but if possible, there are other activities. For example, puzzle making, creative activities, they're going to be very, very important for a child's development later on. Yeah.
All right. Any more questions from our parents? How much gadget time is considered normal? From Miss Rina.
That's a very, very tough question. Unfortunately, I can't give an exact answer. Unfortunately, I can't give an exact answer, though. Okay. But the way that technology is designed like a drug. It's designed like to be engaging, to be overly engaging. And this isn't only for young children. We see a lot of families like this as well, where the family can gather. Terus yang nggak bisa stop WhatsAppan is either one of the parents, not the child. Karena social media and gadgets are designed to be engaging. It's designed to be quick rewards in all those different ways, which is why sometimes, no matter what you're doing, if you hear the WhatsApp notification, you can't help but look at it. Yeah. Because that's called social reinforcement. And so, number one, I can't say exactly what gadget time is normal. But overall, I think every family needs to have time where everyone puts their gadgets away. Because a lot of children learn the habits of how to engage with gadgets by seeing their older siblings or their parents.
That's right.
And so every family...
Sorry.
No, that's right. Go on, Jacqueline.
Yeah, sometimes I think that if the parent is always on the phone and the child can see that, they imitate what you do.
Exactly, and this is to say that we're all struggling with different things and we all need help. Even in some areas of my life, I need mentors and to work on it. Something as simple as being able to put down my gadget, sometimes it's quite difficult for me. Sometimes I need to go on a screen fast, where I'm fasting from looking at all the different screens. And yeah, I think that's what I can recommend, that every family has a gadget-free or a screen fast. For one full day, the world isn't going to fall apart. Just pop it away and spend time with each other. If it's uncomfortable, if it's strange, then you need to do it all the more. If working without screens or without gadgets seems a little bit strange in the family, itu semakin dibutuhin sebenarnya. So that's what I can recommend from them. Yeah, there's a comment that could be challenging. Exactly. You need to keep doing it sampai kebiasaan that you're able to engage without the screens. That's one of the biggest challenges.
We have Miss Rani Rajesh raising her hand. Maybe you wanna, do you have any comment or you wanna talk about something, Miss Rani?
Actually, I already put it in the chat. Everybody's going through the stress.
Yes.
Don't know how long it's gonna go. And I think everybody's depressed, everybody's losing their patience. I agree with whatever pointers he had mentioned. So I put it in the chat.
Hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, Miss. And everyone is going through a tough time. And this
Yeah.
is why we desperately need to help each other. Like, to be
Yeah, but
honest,
a lot of people are losing their patience also. Let it be a kid or let it be an elderly person. You can see so many videos going viral. Um, the cops are beating the elders. I mean, everything is going haywire, you know. You don't even know. Actually, some of us, we know respecting elders is very important. You need to have that distance. But I guess everybody's losing it.
yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's really important that we go back to that framework. What can I control? What can I influence? And what can't I control?
Yeah.
And the more we think about, the more we consume the news and all that sort. So I've actually, in the beginning of the COVID-19, I would watch the updates every single day. What's happening here? What's
Exactly.
happening there? What's a conspiracy? And so especially for us adults, we have to limit what information we consume, because whether we realize it or not, it affects us a lot. And so I've
Yeah.
stopped watching the daily updates of COVID-19. And in regards to the patient, in regards to the stressed and depressed, we will not survive this unless we're a community. You will
True.
not
Yeah.
survive this alone. You will not survive this pandemic in a healthy way if you don't have other parents and other teachers. It's no longer an option, it's a necessity now. I know we're having this webinar, we're having this talk because we're all in crisis. That's the whole point behind this. And I wanted to say something. Yeah, we cannot do this without helping each other by reaching out to each other. And I know that some families tend to stay to themselves. That's no longer an option. You have to reach out to them. You're no longer just parents or teachers at a school. We're all human beings trying to survive a global pandemic.
It
And when we,
was, I just want to share something. When this thing actually started, and I had to go out for some bank meeting or something. I had to go out to the malls to buy some stuff. I used to have that 14-day self-quarantine myself in the house. It was, unbelievable. Even if my daughter wanted to come and help me, I'll say, no, 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 don't do that. So you know what I'm trying to say? It's getting everyone crazy. We all have to remember, when have we gone out last count 14 days? So the 14 days never ended. It's, I don't know what to say, because I think this is going throughout the whole world. Everyone is going through the whole thing, the same problem. So we all are sailing in the same boat. Each one has their own problems. But it was a good talk. That's why I really wanted to be a part of this and listen to it. And I think after ages, I've joined the MIT meeting, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. It's a huge privilege for you to say that. I really, really honor and respect that. Thank you so much for coming and listening. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why, to be very honest, we weren't planning on publishing the short book until much, much later. But we realized that, hey, we're only going to do this well if we can do this together. And so as Jacqueline and Tante Linda have read, I've added sections on how do we take care of each other, even though we're physically apart. The first paragraph talks about the COVID-19 situation and how can we care for each other and other families in the situation. Why? Because we need to. It's a matter of survival now. Yeah.
God bless. God bless all.
Yes, indeed.
We just have to be positive and, just keep all the negativity away. But at the same time, I know everybody's going through a hard time. People are losing their jobs. I mean, it's more negative than positive, but we always have to be positive in a negative situation also.
We got to make sure we're taking in the right things.
True. Thank you, Dr. Sandy. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much, Mia.
All right. Sandy, I like how you said every family is different. Every family is not perfect. And we are not perfect. I mean, especially now that parents are taking over children's education. I mean, they're teaching them at home, and also the parents must brace their impact because they need to take care of their children's education. So how can parents handle that stress if the people around them, around the environment is difficult?
So just a quick question. Difficult in what way?
A lot of things, maybe financial, stress with, you know, letting go of from work. Um,
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely. Thank you for the question. First of all, I just want to note that parents aren't entirely responsible for their children's education, but they play a part in it.
Yes.
So they're
Yes.
not responsible for the whole thing, but now they play a bigger role because of the situation, whether we like it or not. Now, what do we do when the whole world is falling apart and we're stressed? Stress management strategies fall into two categories. One is we're handling the source of the stress. So if our finances are the source, then we fix the finances. But sometimes that's not always possible. And so the second one is stress reduction activities, stress reduction behaviors, when sometimes we can't change the situation. And that's a lot of what I talked about before. Talking to people in an open and vulnerable way, making sure you have enough rest, making sure that we have fun. These are all stress reduction strategies. For example, just to clarify, stress isn't only something that happens in the mind, it's a body reaction. And so back then, before human beings settled down, this is a slight history lesson, before human beings settled down into cities, we would hunt animals, right? We would hunt animals, we would gather, we would forage and things like that. Now, and suddenly if there's a bear, our body reacts by giving us stress. Now, it's not stress like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. No, our body reacts in a way it needs to fight. Do I need to fight this thing or do I need to run away? So that's why when we're stressed, we feel our heart's beating faster, we feel uncomfortable. That's our body preparing ourselves. For those of you who might know, it's called the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome, previously just known as the fight or flight syndrome. And so they're preparing the body to fight. So it's actually a body reaction. It's a series of hormones that's happening in the body. And we can calm our minds, but we also need to calm our bodies down as well. That's why we need enough rest. That's why we need to have fun. That's why we need that social thing. And a lot of research shows that one of the biggest ways to reduce stress is to have somebody you can talk to. Just by talking to someone, often you gain a lot of perspective. You gain a lot of insight. You gain a lot of ideas that you don't get just by ruminating in yourself. Sometimes your mind is your biggest enemy. And so having someone else to process all of these together is something very, very, very good for stress. How do we handle the source of the stress? Like, for example, finances and things like that. I don't have an answer. I just don't, because sometimes there's nothing we can do. But in the meantime, we can do our very best to lower our stress levels. And even in struggles, we can talk to our family and say, you know what, we're going through this, but we're going to go through it together. Iya, kayak gitu. Jacqueline, are you there? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so thank you for the answer. Do we have any more questions to summarize? No, okay.
If not, there's a lot of people in the chat saying thank you. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming, everyone. It's a huge privilege, in fact, to be able to talk to all of you. And I hope you got something out of it today.
Okay.
Well, absolutely, Sandy. Thank you once again for this talk, and we definitely is inviting you again to have another talk in different topic. Then the parents really appreciate about this talk, and definitely we'll want to have you again in the future. Thank you so much, Sandy.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care, keep safe, and keep healthy. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.